Hello, Pat. Here we are back at the map, trail map. How's it going?
Hello, Matt. The map
The
with
map.
an apostrophe.
Yeah. Yeah. This is that podcast where we talk to people about their circuitous paths to amazing destinations.
Yeah, but the destination,
The destination is the path.
that's right. You got it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Today we've got Kirk Wallace on the show,
Yes.
who is an illustrator based in Maine, and really talented guy. I know that he yesterday had the film crew from the Boston Celtics at his studio.
Yeah, wild.
So we'll get into that, but really cool guy. So excited for that chat. Yeah. So how's life going for you?
Pretty good. We got some disease going around. I'll try not to cough on you or anything.
Okay.
I have you guys have experienced some disease, haven't you?
Oh God, yeah. Trying to hold out. Are you next week is school vacation week? Are you going anywhere? Or are you going to be around home?
Well, we got Mary's parents coming up. We're going
Nice.
to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania next weekend.
Nice.
You ever heard of it? It's a cute.
I've never
little
heard
town.
of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. That's a place?
That's a place. Look
Wow.
it up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's I'll have to go there at some point.
You don't have to, but it's cute. You should check it out.
Okay. We're going down to Florida.
Classic.
Wonderful Florida.
What part?
We will be in Orlando.
Heard of it?
Regent's mom has a place down there, so we're going to visit her, and we're going to do a couple days, do a day at Hollywood Studios and a day at Universal. So
Wait, what's Hollywood Studios?
it's one of the Disney properties.
Oh,
That's a fun one because my son Will is a massive Star Wars fan.
sure.
So we'll be going to the Star Wars experience.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be really fun. We've been already, but it's a second go. So
Okay, we have not been with the kids. Only
it's a thing. It's a thing.
It's
a
a
thing.
It is. Is it ever?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry about the disease. I hope you guys feel better soon.
Thank you. I hope you remain well.
Yeah, thanks. Will and I have been holding down the fort this week. Heejin traveled out to Seattle.
Ooh,
And
love Seattle.
yeah, to see her friend. And
Nice.
yeah, shout out Jess and Pat. Another Pat.
Oh, I thought yeah, nice.
Now they're out there in Seattle. So anyway, I guess let's jump in and chat with Mr. Kirk Wallace.
Let's go, Kirk.
All right. Kirk Wallace, it's great to have you on Trail Map. Thank you so much for spending a little time with us this morning.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Pat.
So I know, we've talked a few times. I know you're up in Maine, right?
I'm up in Maine. I'm in the woods.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not in Portland like everybody else is.
I was going to ask, are you
west?
Half hour west of Portland? Okay.
Yeah, it's a quick half hour. It's just it's an easy one road to get over there, and it's nice. But it definitely is. I'm in the woods. I am out in the back of a barn, and I've refinished it to be a studio. And it's today's a warm day at like 30, 40. I'm nice and toasty in here, but sometimes it's tough. But yeah.
I mean, even I'm in New Jersey, and it's like 30, 40 degrees. Sounds like t-shirt. It's just this winter,
dude. It was this -7 stuff is like not fun.
Yeah, especially when it's like -7 and then it feels like -20 or whatever. It's like I don't know. It's like they send Frank out, and it's like, Frank,
they need to stop with this.
What does it feel like?
Stuff. Yeah, the feels like thing is just like a slap in the face. Where it's like, I'll let you know what it feels like. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like I just tell me what it is. It's weird. I'm not like going to the Weather Channel to get an opinion. I agree. I have a hard stance on that.
I can feel it myself.
Yeah, what the
I'll
hell?
tell
And like,
you.
yeah, that's a very subjective way to do the weather, and it seems really weird that that is the way it is. But yeah, it's been cold. There are days out here where if it's cold enough, it's like I'm burning pellets, and it's not. I'm like, it's just pointless. Like it's just not getting up to temperature. Anyway, today's a very good day for all of those things. It's good.
Yeah, we're happy to catch you on a good day. This
You don't
interview
want to
could have
see me
taken a
otherwise.
really bad
Yeah, it'd be bad.
direction if yeah.
I mean, anything can happen. We'll see.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, hopefully we won't screw that up for you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's great to be in touch with you. I know you're an illustrator, and animator, and you run a studio, and I believe the studio part is called BoneHaus, but maybe you can sort of fill us in. What is BoneHaus? What do you do? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, yeah. BoneHaus is really well. It's evolved, but I left my full time job in 2015, so I'm 10 years deep at least. And BoneHaus at first was just sort of a studio moniker for myself, just so that I didn't have to feel like everything was about me. And it was just nice to have like a brand that I could kind of hide behind, less for the posturing of like pretending I'm a larger organization, but more just because, the same way we like to invent stories and worlds and cartoons and stuff like that. It was just fun to kind of have a brand. Making a logo about BoneHaus rather than a Kirk Wallace logo was just more exciting to me. And I think over the years, it has evolved a little bit into just I've worked with friends as much as I can. And so I think if there's a studio aspect to it, it's just the ability to work with different copywriters, photographers, 3D designers, animators, and other illustrators and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I mostly do commercial work, mostly whimsical, playful, kind of character driven stuff in the advertising and branding space, probably most often. And yeah, and I think the work is, if I had to describe it, it would be probably delightful and kind of charming and whimsical, but usually kind of grounded in reality, and intended to sell a product usually.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Kirk, I know you're a humble person, but like you've worked with some amazing big companies, Adobe, Apple, Google, Disney, like big companies. So it's clear that like you've been found out for your skills.
The Boston
And
Celtics. Can I say that? Is
Boston
that secret?
Celtics, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You had some Boston Celtics folks with you yesterday. We understand, so that's very
Mhm.
cool.
Can we do an Easter egg thing where we have to mention the Boston Celtics once in every episode? We're good for this episode.
Yeah, as a Celtics fan, I'm good with that.
Yeah, easy. And I, as someone that won't be on the future episodes too often, I would love to throw that into your court to have to deal
Court, nice.
with. Yeah, I've been really lucky with the career so far. I think a lot of that has to do with timing and all of those things, and all the other stuff that I don't like to mention of hard work and that. But yeah, I often do think about like starting a career today versus starting a career in 2010 is just such a different world. And I think, happy to have already done it and not have to start it off the ground today, because that is scary.
Can you say what I mean? I know generally what you're referring to, but can you talk a little more about that? What does that mean?
I think things like in my world, like social media and getting your work seen in maybe 2010, 11, 12, even, 15, 16 was just such a different world than getting your work seen today. And for context, so much of the work that I receive is just from basically me sharing my work online, twiddling my thumbs, and then waiting for someone to email. And it has worked historically. Again, because the snowball has been rolling for so long, because those early days of getting seen, I think, were easier to get eyes on work. And today, I think it's also equally as beautiful and amazing that you can get discovered, algorithmically. Like you can have 0 followers and pop off, and then Nike sees a piece that you did and they can hire you. But at the same time, there's just so much more noise online and just such a more crowded space that it's just a topic that I think and talk about a lot, because students often are asking, because they see my story of like, well, I just posted my work online and then, Patagonia came along, and it's like, it's not that easy. So yeah, that's kind of what I mean around it.
Yeah. I think it's similar in the music world. It's like there's democratizing technology where it's like easier to get your feet off the ground, on the ground, get off the ground. But then it's how do you distinguish yourself and make yourself, stand apart or get into the mysterious algorithmic superhighways. I agree. Is kind of it's both like exciting and daunting, frustrating.
Exciting and daunting is exactly what it is. And for those that see success with it, it's even more exciting. But it's easy to lose track of that. It also, to me, and whenever I talk to Matt around like my strategies with business and stuff, I'm like, I don't think it's a scalable, like, you don't want to be a flash in the pan that just pops off on TikTok and then all of a sudden, and great, you can parlay it into something, but also like there's definitely something to be said about slow and steady. And I think I'm in this weird world where I'm a little bit slow and steady, but I'm also very much a product of like earlier internet. And, when people ask me like, how do you, like, was your outbound marketing or your email? Like, I'm like, I don't know. And I would never advise anyone to take this path because I'm just like hacking it together and hoping for the best and waiting for an email to come in. And then when they don't come in, I'm like, I don't know how to reach out to people because I've never had to do it yet.
I think I'm sure right now, Pat. So Pat is in a band. He's one of the two founders of this band, and I'm sure you can relate, Pat.
Big time. I mean, like, we had. I think I don't know. We appear similar in age. I don't want to.
Yeah, I've got 37.
Oh well, I'm 40. So
okay.
One day you'll know.
No. 38. Sorry, I was born in 88. I feel like I feel like we need to just say our age. Like the future needs to say the age of the year that we're born because that never changes. Why do we anyway?
Right.
So I was born in 88.
85.
That's a good move. Yeah, we could just forget 85. The number.
Right. Yeah, right. Like why are we chasing a number when we have like a static number?
Right. Yeah. We had, I guess, some luck in the same time period you're talking about, and like I agree that starting out, I can see both sides of it because I have music of my own that I'm trying to like put out into the stratosphere, and it's just not doing. I assumed like, oh, it'll just some people will see it. And it's like, no,
it can just absolutely not happen. Yeah.
I was also talking to my first piano teacher actually, who in his 40s moved to Montana and started the media arts program at the University of Montana in Missoula. And we should have him on the show to talk about his path. But he, spent the second half of his career at a university, and now his third act is trying to like sell his media, music, and web savvy to clients. And he's now he's almost 70, and he's like, I've never had to cold call people, and it sucks. And it's like, it does, like, regardless of the industry or what, like it's
an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, and it's just like, it feels like dead end city. Like you don't.
I'm scared of it.
Yeah, I'm scared of it too.
I'm scared of the like right now, like, and part of me is I think trying to do a little bit of that lately with like shifting slowly to more content driven, like me being more of the product of courses, Skillshare classes, or YouTube videos, or partnerships with brands. And that's scary because it's a new thing. And like, I know I can do the one thing well. And if it's already working well, then why change? But then like my passion is driving me towards something that's maybe a little bit even more independent, like maybe more artist rather than designer or something. And I'm taking baby steps because to take like a large step just seems scary. Cause you might try to upload a YouTube video and then literally 0 people can see it. Like there's a perfectly normal world where you upload something and no one sees it. And you're like, oh, yeah, I guess I'm starting over here. And then you're like, maybe I'll just go back to doing what I was doing.
I just want to pause here for a sec, right? Because both of you guys have made it, right? Like both of you guys
we did
are,
We've
Absolutely.
arrived.
No one told you?
I do agree, Matt. Because I would never want to play coy with privilege of like, yeah, I am very fortunate, and I do feel like in many ways I've arrived. I'm
Yeah.
still terrified every single day.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, I think it is important context for the listener of like,
yeah, well, no, I think it's I think it's important, to acknowledge that stuff, but also to recognize that these questions, these feelings of
mm,
insecurity, imposter syndrome, like,
mm,
am I gonna cold call? Am I gonna put a YouTube video and get no views? They don't go away.
yeah,
So it's not a good measure
Yeah.
of whether or not you've achieved anything because
yeah.
here are two people that are both doing creative things that have made it.
Yeah, and it's scary every single day. And I know that like Grant Morrison, like these like incredible comic book artists that are just like same thing every time they get down to the table and they start drawing, they're like, I have no idea. I don't think this is good. I'm not doing good. And it's like, you literally are the capstone of what
Yeah.
comic books are. And so, yeah. And I think musicians probably same sort of situation, like every musician and probably most creatives and artists and stuff. It's just like satisfaction. And that's why I think it is important communally for us all to celebrate and appreciate that, Matt. And happy to see Pat sort of take some of that in of like, yeah, it is good to celebrate it sometimes because we won't celebrate it alone in our studio. That's for sure.
Yeah. No way. All right. Well, take us on your career trail map journey, Kirk, because I know you graduated with a degree in computer science, and
Mhm,
that's not what you're doing now.
mhm.
So, what were you thinking when you were on this sort of computer science path?
Yeah, I mean, you're like 12 years old or whatever when they ask you what you want to do for the rest of your life, right? And you have to like, I still think about like applying to colleges and getting like student loan. Like I had no idea. And my parents, unfortunately, like, bless them to hell, but it was like, they just didn't know, like none of us, we didn't know, like we didn't have money. We didn't know how to apply to things. And just, I remember getting through college and be like, I can't believe that I'm actually in. So yeah,
Bless
so I'm
them
yeah,
to hell is a great phrase. Can I
yeah,
almost
yeah.
say
Just
that?
I had to balance it out because there's no blessing anyone.
Yeah.
Um, it was I liked computer games, and I figured, okay, I'll do computers. I'm told this is 2000. Oh gosh, 2004 or five kind of world where it's like, okay, let's do computers. I like computer games. I guess I'll be a computer engineer, and started that, and went to a local school that just so happened to have a really good computer science program, but that was total happenstance. Um, and it was at the end of that career that we had to do a web project where it was really supposed to focus on like database design and like the nerdy part of websites. And I spent all my time like making the colors and the buttons and the fonts and being like, oh, I think that's probably what I want to do. I really like graphic design. And then I think just like I shotgunned graphic design at like right after I graduated, I started going to some of these event like markets, art markets, and just like learning about Adobe Illustrator and like the different ways that you can do it. And I just got obsessed with it. And I think, and I can pause there because there's more to that story, but that was kind of the transition period right after college. It was like, oh, I'm really obsessed with this. Now, how do I go all in? I do remember the mindfulness of like, I want to do this. I'm going to figure out a way to just get obsessed with this. And I want to be the guy that has my pictures at the art market selling them for $20. And obviously I pivoted many, many more times from that. But that was a point when I was like, whatever, 22 or 3 or something, where I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
This could be a boring or irrelevant question, but I'm just always curious. Uh, What has been your path of like software that you use and like devices that you use and technology? Do you draw things and take a picture of it? Do you use a little stylus? Do you still use Illustrator? Just like what things have you used?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's a great question. So the other thing is like I had a Wacom stylus way before I had any business having one because my brother worked at Best Buy and could get them 50% off. And so I was like, when I was like I remember playing Counter-Strike 1.6 on a 4:3 aspect ratio Wacom screen. And, this must be 2002 or three or something. And like, I hardly drew on it, but I just like, I like that I could draw on it sometimes. So I've been with them forever. So yeah, I still draw on a big tablet that's here on my desk in front of me. But I'll also draw on an iPad. Like my sketching usually happens wherever it needs to happen. And then, yeah, I'll take a picture of it or scan it and get it into the computer. And then I work a lot in Adobe Illustrator, which for anyone that doesn't know, it's like a vector-based software. So it's very shape driven and it's infinitely scalable. You can zoom all the way in, and it kind of, for me, ends up being like cutting pieces of paper and arranging them around almost like on a refrigerator, on a whiteboard, and you can move them and rotate them and assemble them like Legos. And then I'll bring them usually into Adobe Photoshop, where I do a lot of like digital painting, where I can add a lot of the texture and shadows and lighting if I want to do that. And then if I am animating it, it'll usually go into After Effects, or sometimes they'll get just frame by frame animated in something like Photoshop. So yeah, and that's been the same forever. And every once in a while, there's a new program that comes out, and I'm like, damn, I should try to learn Moho. And then I'm like, I think this is when I realize my age comes in. And I don't know if age is synonymous with busyness, but anytime I try to learn something new, I'm like, damn, I'm not as good at learning new things anymore lately.
Totally.
It's just that you're so adept at the Adobe Creative Suite. It's like
Yeah.
anything else is just like quicksand, like, oh God.
But
Yeah.
Adobe has done, I mean, a pretty remarkable job of staying relevant
Yeah.
across a lot of different software platforms,
30,
right?
40, 50 years or whatever too, right? Like they've
Yeah.
been around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm happy to have them be, replaced. And they will, and they do, but it's just like, yeah, it's working. It's working. It's
Yeah.
working. And I'm at a breakneck speed where I'm like, I don't have a ton of like, I got to get things done.
They tried, I mean, this is, we don't need to spend too much time on it, but they tried to buy Figma too, right? And they
Yeah, it was a
didn't end up
monopoly.
acquiring Figma, right?
They could,
Yeah.
the European Union basically marked it as a monopoly and didn't allow it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. One
Europe-
thing that was, happy that like at least Europe showed up for that or whatever. Just
Yeah,
like,
right.
can we stop buying things? Like, do we need conglomerates to just like have one monopolized entity to own everything? Like, when can we
Totally.
stop? So thank goodness.
Totally. So, um, in addition to like your like going out and learning things about these software platforms, like it sounds like you also would put a lot of your artwork out there. And I guess I'm
Mhm.
curious first to ask about like developing your sense of style artistically, because like if you go to BoneHaus, even though you're working for a lot of different clients, it feels very cohesive in terms of the types of work you tend to do.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about did you always have that sort of aesthetic, or is that something that's sort of been developed?
It's elusive. Yeah. So like you said, the next step was learning a bunch of stuff and then sharing a bunch of stuff and posting it. And there's that next part of the story. And, um, it's fun because you can look back at 2011 or 12, like at my first post on Dribbble, and Dribbble, for anyone that doesn't know, it's just like a social media. It was like Instagram for designers a long time ago, where you would kind of share what you're currently working on. And it was
3Bs, right?
yeah, exactly. And it was really geared toward like designers, instead of just like, you weren't getting pictures of pets on there kind of thing. And so I don't know. The style is really one of those things where it's just like the less you think about it, the better off you are. I really just can bluntly put it that way. We're inspired by the things that we enjoy growing up, whether it be hardcore music or skateboarding or this, that, and the other thing. And like the wider you can go, and then you put it through your lens. And when you start, you're copying and stealing without really fully realizing it. And then you just hope that you continue to like authentically craft whatever that looks like. And I will say, only because everyone says it now do I believe it, but I never really, I always worried, where I was like, man, I feel like all these pieces are looking fragmented and look different from each other. And I have like 4 or 5 different things. And so, I think it's one of those things that's really hard to see, other than, I've been told it enough where I'm like, yeah, I guess I've got a pretty consistent style. And I think as I've evolved, I've just become more of a curmudgeon, where I'm like, this is what I do and this is all I know how to do. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And it seems to work. I also find that the more I dive into specifically what I want to do, sometimes it takes a year or two. Like, I'm starting another story, and so I'll stop it a little bit, but it's like, yeah, the more you narrow into what you enjoy, I have found that you usually get rewarded for that authenticity and uniqueness. But that's scary too.
People know
Scary
what
is
to
the theme of the day.
people know what to expect maybe, and they seek it out at a certain point.
You think so? And I think the world is big enough and the internet is vast enough that you can get hired. As I always say this of like, look, there's people that like want to look at pictures of feet on the internet. And like, that's like, that's a narrow lane. But like, there they are. And so I
Maybe
don't
not
think
that narrow.
yeah, right. Well, yeah. And there's crazy like clown feet. Like you can just keep going narrower and narrower and you will always, and same with, genres of music and stuff like that. And I think similarly, like I'm not making anything that extremely out there where like I can pretty much stay in my like wide, narrow lane. And there's always an opportunity for a brand to want to pay me to do it. I think also because commercially the world has gotten a little bit different where Nike can hire you, even though you might not fit their big brand aesthetic. You might be hitting great for, they might be doing a kids camp in, Boston or something, and they want something really whimsical that needs to be 20% Nike, but also it can be really whimsical and childlike, even though that doesn't like reach their like larger, like corporate brand, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. It seems like there's like this relationship between like you as an artist putting stuff out in the world online through these different platforms. Like we talked about Dribble. I think like even earlier, like
Tumblr.
Tumblr, and so you put that stuff out in the world, and then you've been discovered that way, right? I mean, we talked about this a little bit before the episode started, I think, but there's sort of a push and a pull situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been frankly the only way that I've been discovered has been just sharing work online, and I can pinpoint certain projects to certain certain personal pieces that then ended up becoming large projects. And then those large projects, I know, you can track it like a web of like when I did this 3 months later, they saw it and they hired me for this. And then that project was a flagship project for me that got me 4 other projects. And you can kind of almost string them along all the way from like 2012 to today, where like the project I'm doing today kind of still feels somehow connected to a personal
Yeah.
project I did in 2012 or whatever.
Yeah. So part of that is relationships, right? I mean,
I think
building
so.
relationships with people and companies.
Yeah. Yeah. People, especially. I think I'm always on the edge of like, we have a mutual friend named Adam Danielson, who is a fantastic designer who I think is on the other end of the extreme where he's like people, 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 and he doesn't share much online. And I would feel like I'm almost on the opposite end. So compared to someone like that, I feel like I'm not a connections person, but I think I am a community person. But I don't know that I'm not as handshaky. And I don't know that I work with this. I don't know. Also, it's changed. The last couple of years, I've really dived into having good relationships with clients, and that has rewarded me a lot. I think the first 10 years I was doing this, I was just more of like a hired hitman where I would like do a thing and then probably never work with them again. And so I've tried to consciously, be more of a people person.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think again,
Schmoozer.
Schmoozer?
Of course. Big time.
Oh, schmoozing. I feel I have such mixed feelings about it because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, Matt, you're so good at connecting with people," but like my hell is like a cocktail
Mhm.
party where I don't know anyone, and I'm
Sure.
like, I'm just like I don't want to be here. Like
Yeah.
it's too uncomfortable.
I
Yeah.
think there's some kind of yin and yang thing going on with that because a lot of people I know like will say that they really hate that type of thing, but are good at it.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like
They're
it's the
motivated
burden,
by
it's the cross.
crippling crippling anxiety or something.
Yeah, some
Um,
cocktail of emotions and skills.
yeah. Um, so yeah, and I think again before we started recording today, we were talking about how much the illustration landscape has shifted and like how much
Mhm.
harder it is to get discovered
Yeah.
today. So I guess just for somebody that's trying to build an illustration career today, like what would you recommend? Like what would you say to them?
I think certain things change, come and go, right? Trends come and go, and even communication styles come and go. And I think there are certain things that are consistently solid that don't go out of style. And I think that's authenticity. I think that's transparency. I think that's trying to have some sort of a value, whether that be, you're the person that's really loving and sweet or really, humorous with the way that they present their work. But there is a meta level to the way that you share your work, that is very important, that people don't want to participate in, which is totally understandable, right? Because we all think our artwork should speak for itself and be hired for itself. But I think if we liken it to music, right? Like the live performance has always been a huge component of what makes a band something that people love and become diehards for and become sticky and viral, or whatever the term that you want to use for is. But like the way they look, the way they perform, the way they do this, the way they do that, the live show versus the studio recording. And I think similarly with visual artists, everybody wants to just be able to just say, this is my art and that's it, and hide behind the art. And that's admirable. But yeah, I think stepping in front of your work is really important. Not only from it's just a huge amalgamation of like, it makes the work more interesting, therefore it gets more likes, therefore it gets in front of more eyes. But at the same time, I think it also helps show art directors that you can work and you're personable and that you're fun to work with and that you can take direction well. And just like the more thoroughly and richly you can share your work, I think the better off you are. Because just images are everywhere. It's just like, forget about it. Like it's just it's just like all we do is see images all day. So, and again, I'm not saying like, here's how you stand out, like for like an advert by like having a bright color, or even, I'm not even really speaking, I think, to a brand necessarily. It's just more just like people want to connect with people. And I think that has changed over the years in how you do it, whether it be TikTok or Tumblr. But I think the through line is definitely authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I love that answer. One of the clear follow-up elephants in the room is like AI
Mm-hmm.
is now here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious how that's affected you and how you think about it. And yeah.
Yeah. I mostly don't pay attention to it because it doesn't excite me in any way. It can only depress me if I
Sure.
want it to, obviously.
Or like,
And
has it threatened your
yeah,
work? Yeah.
totally. No, and I wasn't trying to bail out of the answer, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I mostly ignore, and I agree. I think it's doing a bunch of things. I think it's making people level up, right? It's eliminating a lot of low end jobs of if I were like a, respectfully photo retoucher or somebody that just did technical packaging to, get it pre-flighted to be able to make sure it prints really well. Those things are more in danger. So I think it's made everybody, it's chopping out a little bit of that lower entry stuff. It's making people kind of like choke up on their bat a little bit, get more creative. Those things are probably good and healthy, maybe, I don't know. But it is a thing. At the same time, I do think I'm barely ahead of whatever that quality wave is of like, I'm still riding the, like, I'm kind of bespoke or artisanal or, those types of things. And I think I also have ideas about how this will end up rolling out. But I think pricing, is a harder thing now too, because people are more willing to spend, $10 for a ChatGPT thing. And so it's disturbing. I think I felt the disturbance of it, particularly 23, 24 a lot. And then again, I'm a tiny little, I don't need a ton of money to be successful for myself. Like if I were running a studio with 10 employees, it's scary, but I'm just like, I need a couple clients that are going to pay me enough that I can get lucky with it. This is kind of a non-answer all around, but like, I think it's affecting it. And I think at the same time, I don't know if it's today or in 5 years or sometime, but it's going to have that same sort of vinyl swing of people wanting to get back to, people are going to want to work with humans more than ever. People are going to want to see the imperfections more than ever. And people are going to want to like connect with humans more than ever. And it's not going to take us long for people to be like, wait, this is actual hell. And the other thing is like, no, I have not heard a single, and maybe it's because I'm in a really small like echo chamber. I've never heard anyone be like stoked on AI. And like, I love just prompting ChatGPT for images and like,
The people are out there.
Yeah, I guess there are people out there, but I'm just like, I guess I'm so insulated from them that I'm like, I really don't feel the threat of it.
Quick pause here. Vinyl swing did you just coin that, or is that something that?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I coined it.
I mean, okay, I love
Because
that. And also, are we in the like 80s moment of like new synths? And then people are gonna be like, wait, no, guys, like we need guitars and drums. And then it's gonna be like, but the synths are cool. And then it'll be like vintage AI, techniques or something. I don't know.
There's total potential for that to happen. Yeah. And yeah, I think I was taking pendulum swing probably, and then thinking about vinyl and connecting with Pat a
I
little bit as
love that.
well. And maybe it was
I love
vinyl
that
swing came
term.
in.
I
Yeah.
love the vinyl swing. Yeah, so that's a beautiful thing.
I mean, there's always like reinvention and reinterpolation of styles and genres and things. Like there's a sine wave thing, and then there's like a bigger wave, and there's irregular waves, and things are always being mashed up in different ways to create like what is happening now. And I think it's just in most, if not all industries, it's just kind of an intimidating time for, as you said, the lower echelon of people that work in whatever industry you're talking about, but also just the like, uh, it's never been at this point for like, the creative industries, like lawyers, doctors. It's just like,
It
it's
only
and
comes
this
for
has been,
creatives. Like, why can't we just replace lawyers or like CEOs? Like,
I
which
mean,
robot should be a
lawyers are in
CEO?
trouble.
Yeah,
they
yeah, that
are,
makes
and
sense.
it's like,
Yeah,
what,
that's fair.
there's, it's just, I don't know. It's just an interesting slash frightening slash I don't think we thought it out that well time,
Sure.
like,
Yeah, that's for sure. We haven't thought it
yeah,
out. It is, I think breakneck speed is the biggest fire component of it, of like, it is too fast for it to be mindful. And when you don't
yeah,
have mindfulness, it's usually not good.
right.
Yeah. I think there's just so much personality. And I think this actually segues really well. I'd like to talk a little bit more about what influences you and your style. And like, I'd love to hear more about like where you're sitting right now, like the physical studio space where you're working in Maine.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about it?
Sure. Yeah, so I used to be in a big space in Lowell, Massachusetts. There was like an old paper mill that they converted, and it was shared space, and it was really lovely, big windows, and I liked it, but it was not my own. And when we moved, I was a hawk for any time when we were looking at a house. We looked for years, years, years. We looked like in the worst time, pandemic type of thing. And every time we'd go to a house, we'd look, and I'd be on a hawk mission, like Hawkeye, to find a studio. And when we came into this, there was this big, beautiful barn, and I really loved it. And then there was this room in the back. So this is like this is like there's a hayloft above me, and then this is kind of like a built-in space under the hayloft. And I took one peek in here, and I was like, oh, we'll just throw a match in there and just burn. Like, it was such a mess. It was a disaster. And I didn't see a vision for it at all. And then I started chipping away at it in the middle of November when we moved in. I was like, wait a second, started ripping up the floors, started pulling all this stuff apart and seeing it and understanding that there was maybe bones to make something. And I had before and after photos. I'm really proud of what I did because I'm not handy traditionally at all. I never knew, we grew up in a condo where I wasn't allowed to put a tack in the wall, never had a hammer, I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And so I learned how to insulate the whole space. I put the ceilings up. I put the lights
Wow.
in. I did everything to it.
Dang.
And I'm like so stoked on how it came out.
Did you
And
YouTube it, or what was your
I did.
approach?
I like hardly document. I have a bunch of like
No, I mean,
random.
to learn what to
Oh,
do.
yeah. Gosh, it just was YouTube. It was just YouTube. And even I probably should have leaned into like friends more, because turns out a lot of people know how to do these things because they all grew up with at least what I call a screw gun, and apparently other people call a drill. Of just like, I'm like, oh, that was. But it was awesome, and it was very much like a good meditative time. It was freezing, but it was nice for me to really like fully cleanse this space and have it be my own. And the roofs are not, the ceiling's not as high as it was in Lowell. And I really miss that, and the big windows. And there's a lot that I miss about it, but there's like no denying that this space is very much my own. And the other irony is that like I basically just work on a laptop on a desk like all day. Like I'm not like an artist where I'm like throwing paint all over the place. It's like mostly just the space to like feel inspired, I suppose. And also tinker, and like every day I'm out here, I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should do this or that, and like start messing with things. So I think it's just sanctuary kind of thing. And, there's books and toys and stuff all around me that I've just collected for many, many years. But yeah, it is funny because I am basically just on a laptop all day clicking on a mouse.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like the modern office, like the laptop is
Yeah.
such an anchor.
And like, it's more important to put the fun things behind you than in front of you because you're
Yeah.
going to be on calls so much. You're like just trying to impress. It's more for
Yeah.
them than for
Yeah.
you.
I want to talk, I do want to talk too about like all the different content that you record there. Um, because I think that that's interesting. But like before we leave your style, like you mentioned skateboarding. I think you also have a dog, right? So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about like Kirk outside of work. Like, what are you into?
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in the skateboarding world and like the kind of alternative, like hardcore punk scene, which I think also brought me to a lot of like uh, political activism. And I also grew up with three older brothers that were 10, 11, and 13 years older than me, half brothers. So, and they were all very, so they were right in that world of showing me. I got to skip a lot of cringy stuff because they'd be like, no, 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 you're going to listen to this instead of that, which also robbed me a lot of like some of the cool, naive stuff when you're a kid too, of like, you should be able to like enjoy some of these like less cool things, but it's never been a big problem for me. But they fast tracked me a lot on style and influence and like, and I just so happen to have like one brother that was like really into like hardcore music, and then another was like really into hip hop, and another was like really into ska. And so I got this like perfect triangulation of like multicultural experience inside of one very white family, which was really good for me too. And then skate, that comes with skateboarding, comes with all of the things that just I think added up. And I had really great loving parents. Like those things I think are so important to feel fostered and loved, and the ability to just like kind of play around and do whatever I want. I never felt pressure to have to go be a doctor or anything like that. And I think that's a very irreplaceable, unteachable skill to give a child, is to like let them fully kind of do whatever they want, and figure it out. And almost to a fault at times, now that I'm getting older, like I have a harder time looking far ahead of like, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? Because I've always just been like, playing every day.
Mhm.
And that's very much like how I try to craft my career, is like, I don't want to do things I don't want to do. So I just play. And I really love working. Luckily, I also like, I will work really hard, but I don't want to have a job. So I think all of those things just like add up to like whimsy, like very whimsical life. And very working class, like grew up poor kind of thing, which I'm like also very grateful for in its own way. Um, but in a small, loving household, in with struggles too, of like my dad died early, and like my dad was diabetic growing up, and my brother was an addict, and like it's like all these crazy things that, um, yeah, I'm so grateful for, in their own like tortured way, I suppose.
Mhm.
Balance, I think, is probably a good key word out of that, good and bad.
Yeah, and sort of a mentality to keep playing, I guess.
Definitely.
Like there's a playfulness that I feel like I see in your work. I'm wondering about Scully.
Yeah.
Uh, which yeah, can you tell us about Scully?
Yeah. I'm wondering if I have a Scully thing around me, but Scully is started as just a logo, by a friend named Richie Stewart, who I think is probably the best designer alive. Like, I think he's so smart, and he did all the BoneHaus branding. And he just had this idea of like, I'm gonna like, and he pretty much did that. He was like, I'm gonna put like skateboarding and hardcore music and what I think is Kirk, and also like Casper the Friendly Ghost, and like all these like playful energies, and compacted them into this like logo mark version of Scully that I then was so excited by. And I took and started, I was like, okay, I want to do a full illustrated version of him. And now he's very much kind of a muse. Also, for context, he's my logo when we talk about Scully, but mascot, brand representative, and just again been a good way for me to like, Kirk is the analytical strategist to the business that will make sure that we actually are going to sell the beer can that we're designing for. And then Scully comes in and kind of like torches it on fire to make sure that it stays like unique, interesting, fun, and exciting and surprising.
There's the balance.
Yeah, there's the balance. It really is like, it's the balance, and it's also the creative muse of, if I'm gonna make a wooden toy, there's no question. I'm already learning how to carve wood. Why think about what I'm gonna make? I'll just make Scully. I want to do stained glass. I'm gonna do Scully. Like, he's the creative muse where I just get to learn things up against. And he has a cool story of like, his head can flip. He's insecure about his bones because he's a skeleton. So sometimes his head pops off. And one day he realizes like if he puts his head back on upside down, he sees things from like a different perspective. And it's all about like meditation and this idea that like you can like always step back and look at things differently, and your insecurities are actually your strengths. And so he's just this like full ball of fun inspiration that I can pull from if I ever need to be like, what do I want to draw today? Or like, what do I want to work on? It's like, just dive into Scully world.
Do you have like a physical Scully in your space that
I
you're
definitely have to have
interacting
it.
with?
Where's my toy, Scully? I have this really wonderful wooden toy that I've sold a couple different runs of. I have a all painted version of him here, but it's not going to be as expressive. But he's
I
a
mean, it strikes me as like modern secular version of like, Renaissance artists are like, what should I paint? And it's just like, like Jesus
yeah,
or like
totally
Jesus and
Jesus.
Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is Scully in all green version, just because I did a full green. I'm obsessed with this like sage green color lately. But the
Nice.
idea is that he's a stackable wooden toy, and he tips over on your desk every once in a while, and you can always like that's like a friendly reminder of like, oh, maybe you need to take a step back and like take a breath, and then like you can rearrange him and stack him in a different order, and just like it's just like all these different little ideas that are just purely nuggets of an idea that I'm like eventually I could like swap. Normally it's like a yellow shirt with little bones on it. He's got a sneaker and a hat. And I'm like, I could do different faces and different like types of shirts and different boots and like a skateboard that he could stand on. You can almost like purchase like extra parts, like Lego, it's all about playing and building. And I also just love like things that can fall over and physics and just like things that like tumble. I'm just like really into that.
Dude, I think there's something really interesting here that's like a nugget that I want to pull out that's like for people that are solo entrepreneurs. Like you have to be a lot of parts of the business. You have to do the billing. You have to be the creative force. And it's not just solo entrepreneurs, it's also small companies. Like you have to wear a lot of hats. And I think there's something really interesting about like something like Scully to remind you of like that inspiration, the sort of quirkiness, you know, um, how alive your work is probably has a lot to do with Scully.
Yeah. Good reminder.
Yeah.
Also just as like something, not, I don't know if limiting is the right word, but just something coagulating about inspiration. Like you, there are these after school programs that, I was just signing my kids up for, and there's one about film, like,
Oh, cool.
filmmaking.
Yeah.
And we had just made like a family movie at home
Oh,
as a present for my wife's mom, and it was super fun. Like we had the kids all involved and everything. And I was like, "Oh, Abe," to my son, I was like, "Hey, man, there's a movie making one." And he was like, "Nah, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't know what I would do it about." And I was like, "What?" I know, I know it was probably just like some kind of excuse in his brain or something, but
sure.
like to have something that you're like, I don't know what to do a thing about, like I'll do it about this is like very grounding, I think. Like and just like the limit is the freedom.
Yeah. Right. I mean, similar to music or anything, right? If like if you walk into a studio and you have every access to every instrument, or even just I think digital tools, right? Of like thinking,
Yeah.
I recently got a teenage engineering drum machine, and I know nothing about music. Period. I like music. That's the extent of it. And the first, everyone's like, "Oh, just plug it into the computer. You can." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I'm staying on this screen only because I don't want it. One, I don't want it to turn into computer work, but I need it to be limiting, and so that, and because to your point, I think I say often like I think constraints breed creativity or whatever, right? Of like if you have access to everything, then you don't know what to do. But if you just are put in a room with 4 tools and one idea, it will always end up being more fun and challenging and cool. So I totally agree. And that's why I think Scully is a good, like, if in doubt, it's not like I could do anything. It's like, nah, I have to somehow involve these 4 shapes.
Yeah. I love that.
Really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and I think this is maybe a bit of a new subject, but you've done an incredible job of building a business that's multifaceted. So you've got like client work, you've got merchandise. I know you've been like a top Skillshare teacher. You've got your own YouTube series that you're working on. You're doing speaking gigs. Like there's a lot of different pieces. I'm wondering about how you think about that.
I'm following my nose is what I've been saying. When I get excited about something, I go pretty heavy on it, and it usually is not like the thing that keeps me most financially successful is, freelance illustration, art direction, and stuff like that, of course. But then there's this weird thing where like a YouTube video, like, no, I'm not monetized, I'm not making a bunch of money off it, but like then somebody sees that video and they want to hire me for another thing. And it's so much of a web of all these different things that just lead up to, I don't know what, and I don't pin it down either, right? I don't document like, oh, well, this came in, so therefore I got my ROI, and maybe people should or shouldn't. That's where I'm like, I just don't know what I'm doing, but I just like follow my nose and make a bunch of different stuff, and find that in general, people, I would say the curve over year over year in general, my work is more fun. I'm generally compensated better for it, and I'm generally less stressed out. And
Sounds great.
yeah, I'm feeling creatively fulfilled more like on a year. There are months where I'm like screwed, but like if I zoom out, I'm like, yeah. And so I basically just keep following my nose, doing things that pique my interest when they do, and then hope for the best. And like, history has said that that's a good idea for Kirk to do. That's why it's like like Kirk opens a business school and like that's the advice, and I get shut down immediately because they're like, this is terrible advice.
Are you doing in-person speakings?
That's what I really want to do more of this year specifically. I did my first couple last year, and I did a workshop that was so fun at a convention called Crop down in Texas, and it was a sold out workshop. It was my first one I did, and I loved it so much. And then I spoke in Berlin around the Scully
Ooh.
toy at an event called Pictoplasma, which was so fun. And I just want to do more of that because I also, frankly, am a little bit frustrated with when I see some of the people speaking and they're just kind of up there like flipping through their work. And I'm like, yeah, I can go to your website. Like, I want a story. Tell me a story. And I think that's so much of what like I hopefully bring unique to it is like, I want to inspire a photographer, a poet, a writer, an artist, an illustrator. Like I want anyone to be able to listen to what I'm saying and take something home from it. So that's a strong focus that I do need to get serious about of like, I want to start reaching out to some of these places and speak more in person. I think that's my year thing. I'm like, I want to try. I also just want to travel and I want to be warm all the time. So I'm like, how can I like, maybe if I can get to like South
That's the guy who
America
lives
in
in
like
Maine.
North America's winter or something, like I've
Yeah.
got to be able to like, it's got to be a way I can dodge some of this cold by just traveling and speaking, I think.
Especially at this point in February, it's like, all right,
Yes.
let's.
I'm ready. I'm like,
Yeah.
is there not like something in Mexico happening in February that they need me to speak at?
Hey
Yeah.
guys, the snow's melting. I feel hope.
Yeah, get me out
Is it
there.
is it melting? Nice.
It is here.
Today's a
Okay.
good day. Today's
All
a
right.
warm day.
That's awesome, and it feels like you're following the energy. And I think that like um, one thing that we find at Trail Map is that we have lots of different disciplines of people that we talk to about their lives and careers. And whether we're talking to a fusion scientist about like developing nuclear fusion for energy, or we're talking to you about illustration, like there's definitely like common themes about pursuing your interests, about
Yeah.
following your energy, feel it's at a sense at a level it's a design process, right? Like it's like
Mhm.
it's an iterative process where you're taking a measurement of like, how does this make me feel?
Mhm.
And then you're tweaking it based on, what results you
Yeah.
get back. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to hear that you've been able to build something that works for you. And I guess, the reality is you're a super talented illustrator too. So you have that benefit. I'm curious, like, for people that have creative interests or aspirations, maybe they've got like a day job. Like how do you like, I guess the drum machine might be a good analogy. Like how do you take things on that aren't like your sort of core bread and butter that also give you energy?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think there's like a lot of people that are working a job that they don't super duper mega love, which is totally fair. And I think I speak to them often when I speak at an event or whatever. A lot of people come up to me because I always just assume I'm speaking to other versions of me, and then I realize most of the people that are going to those are people that are at a job that they are fine with or they hate, and they want to. And but they're like, man, I really love painting, or man, I really love this, that, the other thing, and they just don't know how because it's very hard, very scary, and also there's a ton of things that make it harder, families and kids, and fucking car payments. So my methodology has always been slow and steady. And I think I liken it to skateboarding of like, there's people that skateboard that just, they have no business going down that flight of stairs yet. And they huck themselves down and they will figure it out and learn it that way. And that's amazing. And for me, I'm 2 stairs, 3 stairs, 4 stairs, and I'll keep doing the same trick down, down, down until I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure like, I'm probably not going to totally get wrecked on this. It's going to be pretty calculated. And I think with that, with what we're talking about, it's like, there's tipping points. And for me, the thing that my superpower is I have a high tolerance for work. I will, if I had, when I had a full-time job, I would just work that job and then I would just keep working at night and I would just keep going and keep going. And my plate would get so full that at a certain point I was like, I got a feeling if I dropped this 8 hours of the day job, my plate is already still full that it would all kind of still work, instead of like people always talk about like the leap into faith with like freelance. And it's like, for me, it was never like this big scary thing. It was pretty calculated. So I think, if you, the thing that I would hope people have is like, if you want to do it, you just got to put a ton of extra hours in, because you can't just quit. Or for me, I'm like, you don't want to just like quit your job and try it, or I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
And if you're super excited about it, I think it's easy for those night hours to get gobbled up. Where you're like, oh shit, I'm like spending a lot of time doing this because I'm really having fun with it. Yeah, so I think it's that. I think it's just like, unfortunately, you need to add to your plate a lot for a certain amount of time, and that's easier at certain times of life too, of course.
Totally.
I got my wife a sweatshirt that says, it's a picture of somebody doing an ollie, and it says, "I don't skateboard. I'm afraid I'll fall down and get hurt." I did.
That's a great shirt.
It's not really related to anything, but I do have an unrelated question. Can I do that, Matt?
Yeah.
What is your relationship, if any,
Oh,
to fonts?
Oh, okay.
My musical partner Avi, his wife is a graphic designer. Her superpower, she's fantastic and she's many skills and she works with all kinds of crazy clients. Her superpower that we always say is that she can identify a font on site. We use this superpower. Do you like? Do you think about fonts a lot? Are they kind of an afterthought for you?
They probably were early on. It's one of those things where it's like, you got to learn color theory. You got to learn, like, you got to get good at a couple of things, of course, so you don't look like a fool. And then you can probably disregard them pretty quickly. I think for me and my school of thought overall is just like, it's weird because I'm like a very technical person also. Like when people have questions about Illustrator and all that, like I am very technical, but I think I'm just not interested in it. And so like, I think I have a plethora of information. I could tell you all about X heights and bowls and cross lines and all of that. And I just don't care now where I'm like, I think it's also just like, it's like this transition from like designer to artist where I'm like, now I just draw everything, like I hand letter everything.
Right.
And so I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, I think admittedly, when you're in the world of graphic designers that are like these nerded, like, just like tattooed bearded men that are just like, I like coffee and bike rides and fonts. You're just like, I don't give a fuck about Baskerville or I don't care about your fonts. And so when you get like, cause I was so obsessed with it for so long and then I got a distaste for it. So it's, when you get over, it's probably, I think there's tons to tie in with that with music too, of just like, when you're so entrenched in it, you start rejecting it and be like, I don't want to be like these nerds talking about fonts. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a font of like word numbers on houses around here. I liken it to like grandma's houses that I can't identify. And I think it's like I'm not a graphic designer or so I haven't had that like rejection moment. I'm still a little bit fascinated with it, but
Yeah.
I guess my follow up question to this is like you mentioned your superpower is like
Mm.
you just work a lot. Do you have another superpower that you ever cite, or that you
I'm told that my shape language is really strong, and that is again because of a weakness. I don't render if I'm drawing a horse. I don't know how to draw its muscle definition. I don't know how to make hair look more coarse or more thin. Like I can't render things really well with shadows and lighting and like making something look really realistic. So I have to focus on shape. And so as a result, I think it's a survival mechanism, but I think it could also just be a strength of mine. I love shapes that are unique and interesting. And therefore, again, if you relate it to graphic design, it's like it should hold up. If you can squint at it from far away, you want to know that that's a horse no matter what. The silhouette should be strong. And so I think probably if I had like a tool that was my sharpest, technically, it's probably shape language, as opposed to my colors, fine. My, typography and font, fine. Composition, probably bad. But I think attention to detail, like small surprises, attention to detail, and then shape language are probably my best tools in the belt.
cool shape language is a great
Shape
phrase.
language. Yeah.
Well, Kirk, I think we're coming up on time here. I guess before we wrap up, like just wondering if people are interested in your work, where they can find it, where they can contact you. What's the best way to get in touch?
I think if you are looking to like learn from me and follow along, it's Instagram and YouTube, which is both just BoneHaus, BoneHaus. And then I think if you're looking to work with me in some capacity, then it's probably thanks, Pat. It's bone.haus is my website, or just probably Googling Kirk Wallace BoneHaus kind of situation. And yeah, I think those two things are very much the world of like follow along and hang out and maybe learn or, subscribe to YouTube and stuff. Or if you're busier than that and you just want to see the work that I do, then my website has lots of it to offer. And as always, my DMs and my email are very open to thoughts and questions and chats and all that sort of thing. And I think information should be free. So however I can always help with anybody, I'm always happy to do so.
Yeah, I
Am
think
I
there's a real generosity of spirit and of like you giving your time to help other people on their paths, which is super cool. Yeah, I admire it. So,
Thanks, Matt.
thank you so much for your time today, Kirk. It's been really inspiring and fun to have you on the show.
It's been a pleasure. Nice to meet you, Matt. Nice to meet you, Pat. Nice to see you, Matt. There's something there. Like the Matt
Oh,
Pat
yeah.
thing is
We
cool.
probably
I'm
should
sure
rename
I can't be the first
the
person
Matt
that's mentioned
Matt
it,
and
but
Pat hour. Yeah, everybody comes on the show. They're like, Matt, Pat,
Pat?
oh,
it's
yeah.
fun. It was a
Yeah.
pleasure. I loved it. Thank you,
All
guys.
right.
Am I allowed to ask as a coda question what you're working on with the Celtics, or is that
Oh,
top secret?
I'm good on Celtics is open and public.
What
I can
is
talk
it?
about it.
What is it? What are you
Oh,
working on?
wait. Oh, wait. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Celtics is resident artist for the year, which basically, among some other things, is 6 months, 6 posters. So once a month, I do a poster, and they give them away in game. I think they print like 5 or 10,000 of them. I think it's like a first come first serve sort of situation, and they're usually based around like we just did All Star was the thing, and February will have its own theme. So each one's kind of themed a little bit differently. Yeah, there's just all sorts of like fanfare videos and like hanging out with the kids, doing a workshop, teaching them how to paint at a museum in Boston and some of that stuff. But the core of it is basically I'm just making posters for the games that they're giving out. And it's been pretty cool and pretty like, I keep waiting for them to reject an idea, but they're like, no, sounds great. Good. You're good. Keep
That's
going.
so
And I'm
cool.
like, are you sure? Like the most recent one I threw out is like a little bit avant-garde, and I'm waiting for a response to be like, I don't really know if anyone's going to really understand what you're doing here, but I think it's so sick and I think it's going to be cool. So I'm hopeful that they're just going to do the thumbs up thing is my hope.
They're not rejecting it; they're alley-ooping it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. All right, Kirk. Well, really nice to have you on, and look forward to staying in touch.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that was fun. I love
really,
that with Kirk.
yes, that was great. He lived up to his name, I have to say.
Yeah, Kirk Wallace.
Kirk
Yeah,
Wallace.
so much energy and so inspired by the way that he follows his energy. And I loved what he said about getting out in front of the work. Like there's so many images, and I feel like while he recognized the enormity of AI, it just felt like he was saying like there's no way that it could replace what he's doing because there's so much of him, so much human in what he does.
Yeah. I mean, uh it's a super hopeful approach, and also I hope all those photo retouchers can get jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it's gonna really restructure our whole job economy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I was just having a very different conversation with some scientists in Boston about, how grad student work is not really needed anymore because of AI.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely shifting, but I
Really.
think there's hope in all of us being able to do more interesting work. That would be
I
cool.
hope so. I hope so too. I hope so too. I mean, this isn't an AI podcast per se, but we can.
Well, I'm
I
a
mean,
robot.
yeah. I loved what he was saying about, you know, the the way, or a way, that you have to, we all, creative people all want their work to stand on its own, and like they want to just be like, here it is, it's good, people will want it, but you have to also present yourself, present your personality, show how easy and fun and engaging you are to work with, like create a style that people can recognize. Like it's not just like do good work, like you have to present yourself and your, I mean, I hate, brand is just like a word that I'm like, but like just your style, your thing that you do.
Yeah, I don't really buy the whole like personal brand thing. I don't think it's about a brand. I think it's you know, it's who you are. It's a human thing. It's not a brand thing.
Yeah.
Brands are completely different. Um
Personality.
and I think that that's like what you see like you know, I, that's something that I think about a lot like, you know, personality is such a beautiful thing, and it's hard like, even with my consulting business, like I try to convey myself in words and images, and it's very hard to do. And so I really admire when somebody like Kirk like knows himself super well, and then you go to his site and it's like, oh, I actually can get a sense for this guy just by like reading his words and seeing his pictures. He's just so good at it. So
Yeah.
it's a real talent.
Yeah, and like he was describing too, like even in his time being on the scene the last 10, 20 years or whatever, like the digital landscape has changed, and like he's you know grateful that he wouldn't have to start now, like it's
Yeah.
changing around you. But like what we're describing, like you kind of just have to carry that through, like
Yeah.
whatever the environment is.
Yeah. I mean, I think somebody who's in their mid 30s, by virtue of the fact that they're in their mid 30s, they don't want to start again, right? But
Sure, yeah.
there's
Just a
the next
biological thing that
generation.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't wake up with quite the same pep in my step,
But
but
like I mentioned briefly that my first piano teacher who moved like it when he was 40, just like
yeah,
kind of started over.
yeah,
Like you can
yeah,
start over. You just have to, and some of the people that we've been talking to recently have,
yeah,
not 100% started over. It's just like you're using what you've learned and applying it in a different place, in a different way, which can change your environment pretty significantly. But it's just always about like taking what serves you and leaving the rest.
totally,
I don't want to
totally.
be too I don't want to be too cliche, but it's
No, no, but it's like it's it's almost like building like an electrical circuit, like you're carrying the energy forward. And like, it's, somebody like Kirk, like you can see that he's operating so intuitively. So he's so connected to like what motivates him, and that's just a beautiful thing. So yeah. I enjoyed that chat a lot and excited to share it with our audience. As always, if you haven't yet, please subscribe, like the show on YouTube, and share it with your friends. I think, we're all about that human connection here. And so there's nothing like that referral of the podcast that you've been enjoying listening to. So
slow and steady, slow and steady.
Building something cool here. And thanks, Pat. Great to chat. Talk to you soon.
Always great to chat.
Have a good one. Trail Map is hosted by Matt Gregory and Patrick Direwolf. Editing and production by Matt Gregory. Music by Patrick Direwolf. Animation direction by Hati Nguyen and Nana Teja Paival.